Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I achieve my everyday makeup look. I am aware that my everyday makeup might be your full glam, but this is just what I like to wear on the daily when I go out and do my thing. And yeah, I just do one every single year. So this is kind of like an updated version, the 2019 version. So if you guys want to see how I achieved this look, then just continue watching. Okay, so jumping straight into the tutorial, we are going to be starting off with foundation. The foundation that I'm going to be using today is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. I'm using the shade Golden Beige. This has been one of my favorite foundations for over a year now. I just love how it looks on my skin. I also like how it appears in photos and video. Compared to my other foundations, for some reason this one just looks the best on camera and I love it. So ever since I got it, I cannot even put it down. I wish there was just more shades. I feel like golden beige is not my exact skin color. To blend everything in, I'll be using my Real Techniques beauty sponge. So this is what I always like to use, and I'm just going to pounce this into my skin. I'm not going to swipe it because that's going to take away some of the coverage, so we're just going to really pounce the product into our skin. I personally like using a sponge for this foundation. You can use a brush, you'll get more coverage, but I personally feel like it's a little bit more heavier on the skin and you can see it. But I feel like when you use a sponge, it's more skin but you're still getting that coverage. For concealer, I will be using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. I'm also in the shade Golden Beige for this as well. And this has become one of my favorite concealers of all time. I'm going to place this under my eyes and just over any of my acne, any redness or scarring. It gives you such good coverage without being cakey. And I feel like with the Tarte Shape Tape, although the coverage is great, formula is great, it is just way too heavy even if you use a tiny bit. Still using my Real Techniques beauty sponge, I'm gonna start blending out that concealer, again just pouncing it to get the maximum coverage. I'm gonna work on blending out the acne concealing and then I'll work on my under eyes last because I want the concealer under there to kind of set in, and that way we can have the most coverage since my under eyes are a little bit darker. And when concealing my under eyes, I like to bring some of that concealer onto my lid, and that will act as my eye primer. Next, I'll be going in with my Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I've also been loving this setting powder a lot as well. I feel like it just makes your under eyes look so smooth. There are no pores, like they disappeared, and it just looks great in photos as well. And just pounce it underneath my eye, and I'll blend it down to the sides of my nose where I have a lot of pores. And I'll bring it down to my smile lines because I tend to crease there as well, and also my chin because I get oily there. And I'll bring a little bit to my lid to set the concealer down on my lid as well, so that way it's ready for any eyeshadow to go on top. And I just kind of like to pounce it into my skin until the powder is disappeared. So I don't technically bake because although I have oily skin, my under eyes are super dry, so I don't really like to bake. I just like to pounce it in. Also, I'm going to take some on my forehead as well because my T-zone gets super oily. And then to set the rest of my face around my cheeks and my temples, I like to take my ColourPop No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder in the shade Medium Dark, and I'm just going to dust this around those areas just to set it down where I didn't set it with the loose powder. Alright, so now we're going to move on to my brows. I first like to take the NYX Professional Makeup Micro Brow Pencil. I'm using this shade Espresso. It's a dupe for the Anastasia one, but it's a lot cheaper. And first I would just like to go underneath my brow and just line a straight line very lightly just to get the shape. I'm pretty much just like mapping out how I want my brows to look. And then I'll go on top, just following the natural shape of my brows and also the natural size. I used to draw my brows so thick. Now I'm going to be taking these two products. This one is the Anastasia Dark Brown Brow Powder Duo, and this is just a black single shadow from NYX. It's their Primal eyeshadow in the shade Hot Black, but because the dark brown I feel like is a little bit too light for my hair color because my hair is literally pitch black, I like to mix the two. I would say I probably go more into the brow powder and then just like a touch of the black since it's so pigmented, and then I'll pretty much just fill in my brow where I outlined it. And just to clean up the brows a little bit, I'm just going to take some concealer on the back of my hand, just using that Too Faced one. So for eyeshadow, it changes. I go from palette to palette. I have multiple favorite eyeshadow palettes. I think for today, I'll use the Give It To Me Straight palette because I haven't used it in a while. I'm first going to take this shade in the corner here, which is called Truth Hurts, and I'm going to use this as my transition shadow. Just use windshield wiping motions into the crease. This is like a beautiful warm peach transition shade. I love this one. I love warm tones against my skin tone. I think that just looks the best. And then I'm just going to take this shade right in the corner. This is called BS. I'm going to place that right in the outer corner of my eye, and I'm going to slowly bring that towards the inner crease, but we're going to focus most of the product initially right at the outer third. So I always like to do this technique. This is just like my go-to technique that I do with any palette. It doesn't matter. Like, I just change up the shades from here and there, but the technique is always the same. I just feel like it's the most easiest and it always looks good on my eye shape. I'm gonna use that same BS shadow and I'm gonna run this on my lower lash line, making sure I'm connecting it with a shadow at the outer corner as well. And then I'm going to take this shade down here called Actually, and we're going to place that right at the outer corners. Once again, just want to make that outer corner super dark. And taking that same shadow, I'm going to push this up against my lower lash line as well. I'm actually going to go into my Disney palette and I'm going to take this shade here called Triton. I like a satin shadow and I just love this on my inner corners. So it's for every day. I personally don't like using a metallic or shimmer on my lids because if I'm going to be out the whole day, by the end of the day, all the metallic glitters and shadows kind of like just goes everywhere. It doesn't really stay put. So I like to stick to like satins and mattes. So that's pretty much it for the eyeshadows. I'm now going to take my Inglot AMC 77 gel liner and I'm going to use this to give myself a wing. Typically, most of the time I will wear a wing liner. I'll probably just show you guys one eye on camera and then I'll probably do the other eye off camera because it's really hard to get in frame doing your wing. If you guys are interested, I do have like a whole in-depth video on how I do my wing liner. So I'll leave it in a card somewhere here. And I'm also going to use the same gel liner to tightline my upper lash line. This is really going to help hide that skin, and when we put our false lashes on, it's really going to look like the lashes are coming from the root. Tightlining to me is one of the most important things when you do your makeup. I feel like it really does complete the whole entire look. While I'm still rolling, I thought I would just finish off the eye look before I go off camera and finish off this eye. I'm going to take my Odyssey In Moisture Smooth Rise Super Gel Eyeliner in the shade Coffee, and I'm going to use this to tightline my entire waterline, my bottom waterline. I'm going to curl my lashes now. And I'll be using the ColourPop BFF Volumizing Mascara in the shade Black on Black. This is pretty much a dupe for the Too Faced one, which that one was my favorite mascara, but now I discovered this one and it's like almost exactly the same thing. Actually, I feel like the ColourPop one is better, but I just love this mascara so much. These are the kind of mascaras that I like. It makes your lashes very thick and clumpy. But for my bottom lashes, I like to use a different mascara because the ColourPop one, the wand is super thick and I don't have a lot of lashes in general. So I like to use a wand that is more curved, like this one from Sigma. Alright, so I'm going to go off camera and finish off this eye and we'll come back to pop on our lashes and then finish off the face. Alright, so I am back. I am going to apply some glue to my lashes. These are the Boudoir Lights from House of Lashes. You guys know these are like my favorite lashes of all time. But I'll be using my Duo Brush On Adhesive Glue, the green one with the brush tip. I also have a video on like my favorite lashes and how I apply my lashes. So while the glue is getting tacky, we can work on our face in the meantime. I'm going to use this NYX highlight and contour kit. I like to use this shade in the corner for my bronzer. It's called the shade Tan. I really love this bronzing kit because the way the bronzer goes on your skin, it's just so smooth and it's really pigmented, and I really like how it goes onto my skin. It doesn't look patchy or anything. And then I'll just take this shade over here, which is called Sculpt, and I'm going to use this for my nose contour. I don't like to do too much for my nose contour because I'm not that great at it, so I pretty much just go down the sides of my nose. And I'll just go under the button of my nose as well. Take my sponge and just kind of blend it out. Okay, so now our lashes are probably ready to be put on. So let's just go ahead and pop them on. I'm going to be using this blush from ColourPop. It's in the shade Weird Dough. It's been one of my favorite blushes. It's a very natural blush. I think it's very flattering. And then for my highlighter, we'll be using the Dose of Colors Desi X Katy Fuego highlighter. You guys know this is like my all-time favorite highlighter. So I'm going to take a little bit because it's super pigmented. I'm just going to put that on my cheekbones. And I also like to use my highlighter to highlight my brow bone and inner corners. Just that way everything can look cohesive. So now for the last and final step is lip color. Usually I would go for the Luxe lipstick in the shade Layover, or I would pair a gloss or something. It just depends on my mood and what lip color I want to wear. But I recently been loving CA Love from ColourPop. It's the Velvet Blur Luxe lipstick. I just love the shade. It's like a beautiful burnt terracotta, but it's like muted. Alright guys, so this is the final look completed. This is my everyday makeup routine for 2019. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and also let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!